Teresa was radiant, excited about the surprise she had prepared for her husband. She had left work early and, knowing that he was off, she could hardly wait to meet him at home. However, nothing could have prepared her for what awaited her when she arrived there. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Teresa had always been a determined woman. From a young age, she dreamed of building a better life for herself and her family. It was with this goal in mind that she made the difficult decision to leave her home country and venture into foreign lands. Her farewell to her parents at the airport was filled with tears and promises of reunion, but Teresa knew that the road would be long and arduous. Upon arriving in the new country, Teresa faced numerous challenges. The language barrier, homesickness, and adapting to a different culture tested her resolve. But she did not give up. With persistence, she secured a job as a cleaner in a large city hospital. The work was tiring but honest, and allowed her to remain legally in the country she had chosen. It was in the corridors of this hospital that fate reserved a pleasant surprise for Teresa. During her cleaning rounds, she constantly crossed paths with Christian, a young nurse with an easy smile and a gentle gaze. Initially, they only exchanged polite greetings, but gradually a friendship began to form. Christian admired Teresa's dedication to work and her positive attitude, even in the face of difficulties. In turn, Teresa saw in Christian a kind soul, always ready to help patients with care and attention. The two began to eagerly look forward to the brief moments when they could chat during their shifts. A common scene at the hospital was seeing Teresa and Christian laughing together as she pushed her cleaning cart through the corridors. He loved telling jokes to brighten his friend's day. These small interactions were like rays of sunshine amidst the exhausting hospital routine. Teresa felt her heart warm every time she saw Christian approach with yet another of his jokes. "Christian, you're terrible with those jokes," she exclaimed amid laughter. "Ah, but I managed to make you smile, didn't I?" he replied with a caring look. Those moments of relaxation were precious for both of them, making the days lighter and strengthening the bond between them. The friendship between Teresa and Christian grew every day, but it was a sad event that brought them even closer. Christian's mother, who suffered from diabetes, had a worsening in her health condition and needed to be hospitalized in the very hospital where they worked. Teresa, with her compassionate heart, started visiting the lady whenever possible. Christian's mother, a woman with kind eyes and a welcoming smile, quickly grew fond of Teresa. The two would talk for hours, sharing stories and confidences. On a particularly difficult night, when the lady's health worsened, Teresa made sure to be present. The hospital room was silent, illuminated only by the soft light of the lamp. Christian's mother, with a weak but full of emotion voice, called Teresa closer. "Dear Teresa, you know how much I like you, don't you?" she began, holding the young woman's hand. "But I don't think I've ever told you how much I admire your strength and courage to come alone to a new country to try for a better life. I also admire your honesty." Teresa felt tears form in her eyes, touched by the lady's words. "Christian likes you a lot," the mother continued. "I would like to make one last request. When I am gone, don't leave him. You have been a good friend, and he will need you even more." With a heavy heart, Teresa replied, "You can be at peace. I will be with Christian in any situation. I like him very much as well." That very night, Christian's mother passed away. Teresa was by her friend's side, holding his hand and offering the silent comfort of her presence. Tears streamed down both their faces, uniting them in their grief. The days that followed were difficult for Christian. Without other close relatives, the loss of his mother shook him deeply. Teresa became his pillar of support, always present with a word of comfort or simply offering a friendly shoulder to cry on. As time went by, Christian and Teresa grew closer and closer. They shared not only the pain of the loss, but also moments of joy and hope. They were two lonely souls who found in each other the understanding and affection they so desperately needed. It was on an autumn afternoon, while walking through a park near the hospital, that Christian held Teresa's hand for the first time. The gentle and hesitant touch made her heart race. They looked into each other's eyes, and at that moment both knew that what they felt went beyond friendship. Their first kiss happened under the light of the setting sun, with golden leaves falling around them. It was a magical moment, full of tenderness and silent promises of a future together. The relationship between Teresa and Christian naturally flourished, as if destiny were finally being fulfilled. They complemented each other perfectly. Teresa's strength and determination balanced Christian's sensitivity and care. Together, they formed a partnership based on mutual respect, trust, and a love that grew every day. A few months after the beginning of their relationship, on a starry night, Christian surprised Teresa with a marriage proposal. He took her to the hospital terrace, decorated with lights and flowers, and there on one knee offered her a simple ring but full of meaning. With tears of happiness, Teresa responded with a yes that echoed through her heart. The wedding was an intimate and emotional celebration. Although it only included a dozen close friends, the love that filled the environment was palpable. Teresa missed her parents' physical presence, but they joined the ceremony via video call. Their voices filled with emotion as they witnessed their daughter fulfilling her dream of love. The married life of Christian and Teresa was simple but full of affection and companionship. They lived in a small apartment, lovingly decorated and filled with photographs that told the couple's story. Evenings were spent in discussions about daily life, plans for the future, and moments of comfortable silence where they simply enjoyed each other's presence. On their days off, they liked to prepare breakfast together. Christian took care of the pancakes, while Teresa handled the coffee and fruit. It was in these simple moments that they reaffirmed how happy they were together. Weekends were reserved for small adventures. Sometimes they would have picnics in the city park. Other times they would explore local museums or simply spend the day watching movies cuddled on the sofa. Each shared moment further strengthened the bond between them. 2 years had passed since the wedding, and life continued its peaceful course. Teresa, however, began to feel a growing melancholy. The longing for her parents, whom she hadn't seen in so long, weighed heavily on her heart. She tried to hide it, but Christian, always attentive, noticed the sadness in his wife's eyes. On a Wednesday morning, Teresa was on another shift at the hospital. While cleaning one of the wings, she was suddenly overcome by a wave of nausea. In recent days, she had been feeling sick, but she attributed it to the smell of fresh paint from the apartment she and Christian had recently painted. The discomfort intensified, and Teresa had to run to the bathroom. Her coordinator, concerned, insisted that she go home to rest. On the way, a suspicion began to form in her mind. Teresa stopped at a mall near her home where there was a pharmacy. With her heart racing, she bought a pregnancy test. Right there in the mall bathroom, she took the test. The waiting minutes felt like an eternity. When she finally looked at the result, her eyes filled with tears of joy. She was pregnant. She could hardly contain her excitement as she headed home. It was Christian's day off, and she could hardly wait to share the news with her husband. She climbed the stairs of the building, almost running, a radiant smile lighting up her face. As she opened the apartment door, Teresa was surprised by the sounds of laughter coming from the living room. Her heart leaped as she recognized familiar voices. Walking hesitantly, she saw Christian sitting on the sofa, but he was not alone. Time seemed to freeze. Teresa blinked several times, incredulous at the scene unfolding before her. Sitting next to Christian were 2 people she hadn't seen in years, 2 people who meant the world to her. Her parents. For a moment, Teresa was frozen, unable to believe what her eyes were seeing. Her mother, with hair a little greyer than she remembered, but with the same welcoming smile as always. Her father, with a few more wrinkles but eyes shining with love upon seeing her. Tears started to stream down Teresa's face before she could even fully process what was happening. With a sob of joy, she ran into her mother's open arms. The familiar embrace, full of longing and love, wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Her father joined in the hug, and for a few minutes, the world around them ceased to exist. When she finally managed to pull back a little, still in her parents' arms, Teresa managed to stammer through her tears. How? How did you all get here?" Her father, with his voice choked with emotion, replied, "It was your husband, dear. Christian arranged everything for us to come visit you." Teresa looked at Christian, who was watching the scene with an emotional smile. He approached, explaining, "Finally, I managed to sell my mother's old house, Teresa. I knew how much you missed your parents and wanted to surprise you. We were planning something more elaborate, but you ended up arriving earlier." Teresa threw herself into her husband's arms, hugging him with all the strength she had. "Christian, thank you so much. The surprise was perfect," she said, her face beaming with happiness. Then, remembering her own news, she added, "And it's not just you who will surprise me today. I have one for you too." With hands trembling with emotion, Teresa took the positive pregnancy test out of her pocket, showing it to Christian and his parents. The apartment, already full of joy, erupted in a new wave of emotion. Tears of happiness, tight hugs, and exclamations of joy filled the room. Christian embraced Teresa gently, as if she were the most precious treasure in the world. Teresa's parents were beside themselves with happiness. Her mother was already discussing baby names and planning the clothes she would knit. Her father, with eyes glistening, kept repeating that he would be a grandfather. That night, Teresa and Christian's small apartment overflowed with love and happiness. The dining table, usually occupied only by the couple, now accommodated a gathered family. The conversation flowed lively, years of untold stories being shared amidst laughter and tears of joy. Teresa observed the scene with a full heart. Her husband, the man who had brought so much light into her life, was chatting excitedly with her father about plans for the baby. Her mother, sitting next to her, held her hand lovingly, her eyes shining with pride. At that moment, Teresa realized that she had achieved more than she ever dreamed. When she left her homeland years ago, she was seeking a better life. Now, she not only had a welcoming home, but also a loving husband, a baby on the way, and her parents by her side. Christian and Teresa exchanged a glance full of affection. They knew the value of family and were on the path to their own paradise on earth. A home filled with love, care, and now, with the arrival of the baby, brimming with new hopes and dreams for the future. As the night went on, filled with the sound of laughter and lively conversations, Teresa felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her journey had been long and sometimes difficult, but each step had brought her to this point, to this perfect moment surrounded by those she loved the most. The future lay open before them, bright and full of possibilities. Teresa knew that, with Christian by her side and the love of her family, she was ready to face any challenge life might bring. Together, they would build a home where love, understanding, and mutual support would be the foundation of their happiness. And so, on that special night, under the roof of a modest apartment in a foreign city, a family gathered, grew, and celebrated the miracle of love and life. For Teresa and Christian, it was the beginning of a new chapter, filled with promises and joys that only true love can provide. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.